role of free radicals in diseases. Some part we have covered yesterday. We have covered reactive oxygen species, and we have started with the sources and generation of reactive oxygen species. First source we have started with respiratory chain, that we have completed. Okay. We have completed this respiratory chain. Now today we'll start with respiratory burst, then lipid peroxidation, and which are the other sources for generation of reactive oxygen species. Respiratory burst, it also comes as a short note. Macrophages and neutrophils, they engulf bacteria. This is known to you. Macrophages and neutrophils engulf bacteria, utilizing large amount of oxygen in the process. This phenomena is called respiratory burst. While engulfing bacteria, these macrophages and neutrophils, they utilize large amount of oxygen. That consumption of large amount of oxygen by this macrophages and neutrophils is known as respiratory burst. Here is a diagram showing how this respiratory burst is occurring. What happens is, this bacteria, it is engulfed by phagocytic cell. Now this phagocytic cell, it has a membrane bound phagolysosome, which increases the consumption of oxygen. This membrane bound phagolysosome activates NADPH oxidase. This NADPH oxidase consumes large amount of oxygen. Then it leads to formation of various free radicals. Superoxide is formed. As superoxide is formed, we have learned yesterday, superoxide dismutase acts upon superoxide and forms hydrogen peroxide, which is less toxic form of reactive oxygen species as compared to superoxide. Now this hydrogen peroxide is converted to hypochlorous acid with the help of myeloperoxidase. And this respiratory burst, which leads to the formation of hypochlorous acid, it is helping the body by killing the bacterial cell. Since this bacteria is engulfed by the phagocytic cell, then this action takes upon the phagocytic cell. Whatever free radicals they are formed, they are helping in killing the bacteria. This is the respiratory burst. Now, a bit in brief about this. During phagocytosis of foreign particles such as bacteria, the phagocytic cells are activated and they exhibit a rapid increase in oxygen consumption. Here is the role of NADPH, which utilizes NADPH oxidase, which utilizes a lot of oxygen for formation of free radical. As a result of this, pardon? What happened, Abhijit? As a result of this phagocytic activity, about 10% of the compound oxygen is diverted for the generation of reactive oxygen species. So whatever amount of oxygen we are consuming, our body is consuming, of that 10% is diverted for this generation of ROS by respiratory burst. And the free oxide or reactive oxygen species which are formed are superoxide, hydrogen peroxide, hydroxy radical, and hypochlorite ion. Though this is the formation of free radicals or reactive oxygen species, but it is somewhat beneficial This generated ROS, they exerts a potent bactericidal action. That is, they kill the bacteria or engulf the bacteria and then kill it. There are some clinical application about this. Genetic deficiency of NADPH oxidase system. It causes chronic granulomatosis. This is a disease in which there is persistent and multiple infections of the skin, lungs, bone, liver and lymphocyte. Since the neutrophils, they are involved in this phagocytic activity. Hence, there is this type of features. This NADPH oxidase system, if there is deficiency of this system, then this can lead to chronic granulomatosis. This is one of the MCQ. We have completed respiratory burst. It is a short note. Now I'll move on to next short note or next source and generation of reactive oxygen species, that is lipid peroxidation. Lipids on exposure to oxygen, moisture and bacteria undergo autooxidation. This process is known as lipid peroxidation. Lipids, mainly we are talking here about PUFA, that is polyunsaturated fatty acids. They are exposed to oxygen, moisture and bacteria. Hence they undergo autooxidation and it leads to certain formation of free radicals and reactive oxygen species. This is known as lipid peroxidation. Here what happened biochemically is, in this there is deterioration of the nutritional quality of the lipids. Rancidity occurs here. You all know what is rancidity. Okay. So now this type of lipid which is peroxidized, it is not suitable for consumption. Now how this, which type of radicals are formed, we'll see that. Due to this peroxidation of polyunsaturated fatty acid, we get this kind of free radicals: lipid peroxide radical, hydroxyl radical, hydroperoxy radical, and superoxide radical. Am I audible to all of you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. These are the radicals, free radicals which are formed. How they are formed? We have three phases for the formation of this free radicals from lipid peroxidation. Whatever reactive oxygen species they are formed, they are potentially dangerous to the tissues. Now this lipid peroxidation, it occurs as a chain reaction where there is a continuous formation and release of free radical, and whatever free radical is formed, that is further acted upon by another one and further peroxidation occur. Like this, the chain is occurring. So there are three phases for the formation of this. First is initiation phase, second is propagation phase, and third is termination phase. We'll start this with initiation phase. In initiation phase, PUFA, that is polyunsaturated fatty acid, which are present in the cell membrane or plasma membrane, they are the primary targets of this peroxidation reaction. Whatever lipids they are present in the plasma membrane, they are targeted. Now, a free radical, if we take an example of hydroxyl radical, you can see a dot over H, that is an hydroxyl radical, OH dot. Free radical attacks polyunsaturated fatty acid and removes a hydrogen from that polyunsaturated fatty acid. If we take PUFA as LH and free radical as hydroxyl radical, here is a reaction given. This PUFA plus hydroxyl radical, it will form a PUFA radical and a water molecule will be removed. So this PUFA will undergo further reaction and further peroxidation for formation of other free radical, and chain reaction will be continued. In this initiation phase, only this PUFA radical is formed from a polyunsaturated fatty acid by removal of one hydrogen atom. Second is the propagation phase. Here there is continuous exposure to oxygen. Whatever amount of PUFA radical is formed, that is continuously being exposed to oxygen, and this PUFA radical, it will react with this molecular oxygen very rapidly to form lipid peroxide radical, this LOO dot. This is an lipid peroxide radical. This will form, then this lipid peroxide radical will be attacked by another PUFA to form a lipid hydroperoxide, and again PUFA radical will be formed. Now this PUFA radical is again formed. Again it will be attacked by the heavy exposure of oxygen. Again it will form lipid peroxide radical. Again it will then be acted upon by PUFA and form lipid hydroperoxide, and like this G chain continues. Hence this is known as propagation phase. That means the chain is being generated or propagated and a long chain of fatty acid is being formed. Here you can see during propagation more and more polyunsaturated fatty acids are converted to, first the PUFA radical is formed, then hydroxy radical is formed, PUFA, and then hydroperoxy radical is formed. In the initiation phase, only one radical is formed, and from that the chain propagates. Here you can see the propagation of chain. The continuous production of hydroperoxide takes the lipid peroxidation further, producing much more amount of reactive oxygen species. A large amount of reactive oxygen species are produced because of this propagation phase. One free radical attacks its adjacent molecule, generating another free radical. What happens here is, when a free radical is there, it is having an unpaired electron. So it has a tendency to gain or lose electron. If it gains one electron from another adjacent molecule, that molecule will be deficient of one electron, and that molecule becomes unpaired electron in its outer orbit. So that molecule, it becomes another free radical. This way, attacking of one free radical on the molecule will generate another free radical. Okay. So this occurs as a chain reaction. Last phase is termination phase. The cascade of event continues until interrupted otherwise, till the polyunsaturated fatty acid in the affected cell membrane is completely exhausted. Whatever amount of PUFA is there, to finish that level in the cell membrane, this cascade of events, they are taking place in the initiation and propagation phase. As the PUFA store, they are exhausted the cell membrane, then the termination phase will be there, and there will be interruption in this propagation chain reaction. This lipid peroxidation, it comes as a short note. What you will be writing is, lipid peroxidation is the process of generation of reactive oxygen species from lipid, specifically PUFA, that is polyunsaturated fatty acid. Then write down the definition of PUFA. Then you will write down which free radicals are generated by this PUFA. Then you will write down how the chain reaction occurs. Then there are three phases by this chain reaction will take place: initiation phase, propagation phase, and lastly the termination phase. Then you will explain in detail about initiation phase with the reaction, giving example of hydroxyl radical, how the hydrogen atom is removed and it gets converted to PUFA radical. Then you will write down about propagation phase, the reaction, how the chain reaction is occurring for the formation of lipid peroxide radical and then the lipid hydroperoxide radical. Then the chain reaction, it goes on increasing, how one free radical, it attacks the another molecule and forms another free radical. Write about that, and then at the last write down about the termination phase. Okay, this was about the lipid peroxidation. Now the other sources of generation of reactive oxygen species. I've listed 12 sources. We'll see them one by one. The list is, first is oxidase enzymes, second is during beta oxidation in peroxisomes, third is lipooxygenase, fourth is nitric oxide synthase, fifth is oxidation of heme, sixth is metal ions, seventh is drug metabolism, eighth is ionizing radiation, ninth is tobacco smoking, and this air pollutants, this certain wavelength, and lastly reperfusion induced injury. Now I'll see them one by one. First comes the oxidase enzyme. Here I've quoted two examples. One is NADPH oxidase and another is xanthine oxidase. Now superoxide anion and hydrogen peroxide are produced with the help of this oxidase enzyme. This NADPH oxidase example we have already seen in respiratory burst. How this NADPH oxidase, it is activated by the phagolysosome due to engulfing of the bacteria by phagocytic cell, so that it increases oxygen consumption and then it causes formation of superoxide radical. Now this superoxide is acted upon by superoxide dismutase to form hydrogen peroxide and then by myeloperoxidase. So this is one example of oxidase enzyme. Second example you can quote is about xanthine oxidase. This xanthine oxidase you will learn in your nucleic acid metabolism. How this xanthine oxidase, this is the pathway of uric acid formation. So from hypoxanthine, xanthine is being formed, and from xanthine we get uric acid in our body. So while formation of this xanthine and uric acid, xanthine oxidase, the enzyme is required and there is formation of this hydrogen peroxide. In the last class of antioxidants, we have learned one of the enzyme that is helpful in converting hydrogen peroxide to water and oxygen, that was catalase. Now in this step, catalase acts upon this hydrogen peroxide and then water and oxygen are liberated, so that it becomes, this hydrogen peroxide is broken down to water and oxygen, so that the toxic effect is less. This is oxidase enzyme. Second comes the during beta oxidation in peroxisome. You have learned about beta oxidation of palmitic acid or other fatty acids. That occurs in, where does beta oxidation occurs? Yes. Where does beta oxidation occurs? Are you able to hear me? Okay. Mitochondria, yeah. So this beta oxidation, it occurs in mitochondria. We are talking here about the beta oxidation which is occurring in peroxisomes. Why we will talk about beta oxidation in peroxisome? Because we are learning about reactive oxygen species and free radical. This is one of the source of generation of reactive oxygen species. Here the electron, it is not donated to FAD. This H2O2, it passes on electron directly to this oxygen, and then H2O2 is generated, which is then catalyzed by enzyme catalase to form water. So this in beta oxidation in peroxisome, hydrogen peroxide is the reactive oxygen species which is formed. Next is lipooxygenase. In WBC and platelets, the enzyme lipooxygenase, it catalyzes the peroxidation reaction to form various reactive oxygen species. Next is nitric oxide synthase. One more short note is there. Nitric oxide is asked as a short note. Some part of nitric oxide you must have learned in your protein metabolism. From which amino acid this nitric oxide is formed? This nitric oxide is formed from arginine. So this nitric oxide synthase, it acts as one of the enzyme for generation of reactive oxygen species. Nitric oxide is potentially active molecule and it has unpaired electron in its structure, which is a quality of free radical. Biologically, half-life of this nitric oxide is very short, that is 0.1 second. What it does is, nitric oxide, it activates guanylyl cyclase. Because of this activation, there is increased production of cyclic GMP, which is an potent vasodilator. What is the effect of this vasodilatation? That we'll see in next slide. Before that, we'll just see how this nitric oxide is formed. Arginine combines with oxygen in presence of nitric oxide synthase. And here we require NADPH and nitric oxide is formed. This is one of the reactive oxygen species which is formed. Though it is an reactive oxygen species, but some of its quality are good so that it acts as in some of the treatment part it is utilized. First we'll see the functions of nitric oxide. It is a potent vasodilator due to activation of that cyclic GMP. It acts as a potent vasodilator. Due to this, it regulates the normal blood pressure. It acts as an inhibitor of platelet aggregation and adhesion. Then it is also acting as an neurotransmitter in presynaptic terminals. It stimulates release of hormones like growth hormone releasing hormone from the hypothalamus. Then it is an potential bactericidal action. It has a potential bactericidal action that it kills the bacteria and also it is helping in killing the cancer cell or tumor cells. It has also the function of smooth muscle relaxation in gastrointestinal motility and relaxation of sphincters. It is also helpful in relaxing the smooth muscle in corpus cavernosum and it increases the blood flow in penis. These are the functions of nitric oxide. Then therapeutically or clinically how this nitric oxide is helpful. There are three clinical applications of this. First is nitroglycerin. Nitric oxide available in the form of nitroglycerin. It is helpful in treatment of angina pectoris. Then inhalation of nitric oxide gas. It is helpful in treatment of pulmonary hypertension since it is an potent vasodilator. Sildenafil. This is a drug available which is helpful in formation of from nitric oxide. It is helpful in treating the erectile dysfunction because it inhibits degradation of cyclic GMP by phosphodiesterase. Hence, we can use it in this erectile dysfunction. Nitric oxide, if it comes as a short note, are asked in Viva. Then you're supposed to write down the features of nitric oxide, how it is a free radical, how it is formed from arginine with the help of the enzyme nitric oxide synthase. Then functions of nitric oxide, and then the therapeutic effect of nitric oxide. Fifth source is oxidation of heme. When the bile pigments they are forming from heme, then during that oxidation phase, some reactive oxygen species they are generated. Sixth is metal ions. Copper and iron they catalyze this hydrogen peroxide to form a free radical, that is hydroxyl radical. This reaction we have seen earlier also in superoxide dismutase. Since this iron and copper they are the metal which favors formation of hydroxy radical. So in our body, chelators like ceruloplasmin and ferritin are there, which are kept there so that they can control or regulate this metal ions, that more and more free radicals are not formed. Seventh is drug metabolism. By the help of cytochrome P450, reactive oxygen species are generated. Whatever drugs we are taking, some they cause generation of free radical. So in this cytochrome P450, in drug metabolism, reactive oxygen species are generated. Eighth is ionizing radiation. UV radiation and gamma rays, they produce hydroxyl radical and superoxide and hydrogen peroxide. Tobacco smoking, it contains peroxides and epoxide that damages the lung alveoli and it causes tissue injury. Next is air pollutants. They are always harmful to our body, but they are also a source of generation of reactive oxygen species, and that leads to lung damage. Next is light of certain wavelength causes photolysis of oxygen and converts it into singlet oxygen. Though singlet oxygen is not a free radical, but it is an reactive oxygen species which is harmful to our body. Lastly, we have reperfusion induced injury. You all know what is reperfusion. It is a phenomena by which the blood flow it is restored, oxygenated blood flow to the ischemic area. Ischemic area or ischemic tissue is that part where the blood supply is less or nil blood supply is there. Hence, restoration of the blood flow to oxygenated blood to the ischemic tissue, it is required in the myocardial infarction patient. That is known as reperfusion. Sometimes what may happen that in the form of reactive oxygen species production can occur whenever this flow of oxygenated blood to ischemic tissue is restored. At that time, there may be a chance of formation of reactive oxygen species. That is known as reperfusion-induced injury. Reperfusion is good for myocardial infarction, but while performing that reperfusion, there may be certain injury which leads to production of reactive oxygen species. That is known as reperfusion-induced injury. So we have covered the sources and generation of reactive oxygen species. First, we talked about respiratory chain, then about respiratory burst, then lipid peroxidation, and lastly, we have talked about 12 other sources from which the ROS were generated. Now, because of this generation of ROS and free radicals, it will damage certain biomolecules in our body. Mainly what they damage are lipid, protein, carbohydrate. These molecules are mainly damaged. Lipid in the form of PUFA are mainly damaged. That we have already learned, that is lipid peroxidation. And proteins and carbohydrates, they are damaged, and nucleic acids, if they are damaged, they will lead to directly damage of the DNA. How this damage occurs and what will happen if the damage is there. Start with PUFA. In the lipids, when there is damage to the polyunsaturated fatty acid, lipid peroxidation will be the process by which this damage is occurring, that will lead to leakage in the membrane structure. Since mainly the PUFA attacked are from the cell membrane and plasma membrane. So there will be leakage. That leakage will lead to osmotic equilibrium will be derailed in the cell membrane inside. Okay. So due to this derailment, there will be increased membrane permeability. That leads to influx of calcium ion and other ions inside the cell. And the cell will undergo swelling and then will lead to cell death. That is known as apoptosis. This is about lipids. Next, we come to proteins and carbohydrates. This proteins and carbohydrates are susceptible to attack by this free radical. Now, if the cellular proteins they are being attacked, what happens? That will lead to cellular malformation, impaired membrane, and transport function will be deranged, because most of the transport proteins they are transport molecules, they are proteins. If the reactive oxygen species they affect the proteins which consist of sulfhydryl groups. Most of the proteins they consist of the sulfhydryl groups. So oxidation of this sulfhydryl group of proteins will lead to disruption of the higher level of protein structure. Indirectly, it will cause the breakage of the link of amino acids, and that will lead to denaturation. Now, protein and carbohydrate combined, we call it as glycoprotein. In glycation of the proteins, there is a glycosidic bond. So that is more vulnerable to this reactive oxygen species attack. This ROS, they attack to this glycated proteins that will lead to certain changes. Mainly in diabetes mellitus, this glycated protein, it is attacked. Since we measure this HbA1c, which is helpful in giving us the status of diabetic patient for 3 months. So that glycated protein that is attacked by this ROS, and that will lead to complication of diabetes. Diabetic nephropathy is one such complication which is occurring due to this ROS attack. So it's about protein and carbohydrate. Next is DNA. Since the nucleic acids are being attacked by this reactive oxygen species, it will directly lead to damage to the DNA. There is a damage to DNA, it will lead to mutation, and these cells are mutated. There is doubling, tripling of the cell, then that will lead to formation of cancer. Now, there are certain disorders which are associated with this reactive oxygen species and free radical. This again comes as a short note. Disorders associated with free radical or disorders occur as a result of free radical and reactive oxygen species. So we'll start with first disorder, that is atherosclerosis. Atherosclerosis we have already learned in our lipid metabolism classes. In this, the main cause is oxidized LDL. How this oxidized LDL is formed? Here the reactive oxygen species, it attacks the LDL molecule and oxidizes. Now this oxidized LDL, it will damage the endothelial tissues of the inner lining of the arteries, and that will lead to formation of certain steps, and plaque formation will be there. That plaque formation will lead to atherosclerosis. So indirectly, reactive oxygen species, it is causing atherosclerosis. This is first disorder. Next we have cancer. Now since the reactive oxygen species, they attacks nucleic acid, indirectly causing damage to the DNA. So if the DNA is damaged, there will be mutations occurring. These mutations are more in the mitochondrial DNA as compared to nuclear DNA. Since the generation of reactive oxygen species, it is electron transport chain, it is located in the mitochondrial membrane. So mitochondrial DNA is more susceptible to the attack of ROS as compared to attack on the nuclear DNA. If this mitochondrial DNA is attacked and mutation occurs on this, then this will lead to disruption in the DNA, that is the protein synthesis is disrupted and cell cycle is disrupted. There will be formation of hydroxyl radicals and other free radicals that will damage the DNA, and it will lead to disruption of protein synthesis and cell cycle. Then it will lead to tumor formation and various cancer will be formed. Next disorder here we have, this is a picture of rheumatoid arthritis. Here you can see swan neck deformity. This you will learn in anatomy, that this knuckles, they are in hyperflexion stage. So you cannot extend them. So there occurs a deformity known as swan neck deformity in rheumatoid arthritis. This is one of the inflammatory disorder. Next inflammatory disorder is this ulcerative colitis. Again, we have one more inflammatory disorder, that is Crohn's disease. Now, all these inflammatory disorders, they have other causes also, but one of the cause is because of reactive oxygen species. What happens is, due to the oxidative damage caused by reactive oxygen species over several years, there will be the free radical will be generated. That free radical will damage the tissue over a long period of time. So this neutrophils and macrophages, they play a main role in this kind of inflammatory disorder. Whatever amount of reactive oxygen species are generated by this neutrophils and macrophages, they will act upon this tissue and that will lead to inflammatory disorders. There are other causes of this pathogenesis of inflammatory disorder. One of them is this reactive oxygen species. Next, we have respiratory disorder. The sources and generation of reactive oxygen species, we have learnt about tobacco smoking, that is causing the generation of reactive oxygen species. Here, tobacco smoking and cigarette smoking, that will lead to formation of or generation of reactive oxygen species which will damage the lung alveoli. Now this tobacco smoke, it contains reactive oxygen species, so it will also damage the alveoli of the lung. Since the lung alveoli are damaged, there will be certain disorder of lung. Here, bronchogenic carcinoma is given as an example, which develops due to the cigarette and tobacco smoking, due to which the ROS are generated. In this, there is endothelial damage to the lung tissue that will lead to edema of lung. That means there will be fullness of the lung, and since the neutrophils, they are releasing these free radicals or ROS, they will cause also one more disorder, that is ARDS, acute respiratory distress syndrome. So these two disorders of respiratory in the respiratory disorders are associated with reactive oxygen species and free radical. Next, we have diabetes. In this, due to accumulation of reactive oxygen species in our body, there is destruction of islet of Langerhans. Here you can see in a normal pancreas, there is insulin producing cells are there. Okay. But if the reactive oxygen species, they start destroying the cells of pancreas, islet of pancreas, then there will be here the insulin producing cells, they are destroyed, hence there is no insulin production in this pancreatic cell. The islet of pancreas, they are hampered here and disrupted. This mainly occurs in type 1 diabetes mellitus patient. Last, we have infertility as one of the disorder which is associated with this reactive oxygen species. Mainly male infertility is there. Reactive oxygen species affects the sperm production and their motility adversely, contributing to male infertility. Here you can see, because of this ROS increase in the oxidative stress in the body, there is malformed male. Okay. Now here, with the help of picture, you can recognize that this is a picture showing aging. Aging is a normal process which is occurring in a human life. That is, as we grow, there is going to be aging, that is from childhood to old age. This is not an disorder. It is a normal human process which is all human, they're supposed to undergo this process. So this is also a result of oxidative stress, or you can say reactive oxygen species. This is normal process occurring in our body. What happens is generation of reactive oxygen species during normal oxidative metabolism is viewed as one of the main mechanisms underlying the aging process. Whenever aging occurs, our cells, some tissue, cells they die and new cells are generated as we grow. But as we progress to last phase of our age, at that time as we grow very older, are some of the oxidative metabolism mechanisms in that the reactive oxygen species are generated, which is related to this aging process. Now, this is normal, but sometimes what happens, accumulation of reactive oxygen species, they start, that is accumulation, when they start, there is premature aging. Now, certain disorders, degenerative disorders are associated with this aging. Why these degenerative disorders they occur? Because of the oxidative damage to mitochondria by reactive oxygen species. Now, 3 examples I've quoted here: Alzheimer, Parkinson's, and Huntington disorder. So these are some of the disorders which are associated with aging because of the attack of ROS on mitochondria. Now, some things also happen while aging. I'll show you pictures of in this. You can see a hand of a child and hand of an old age person. Here you have some brown spot are there on the hand of that aged person. These are known as age spot. As we grow, there is formation of this age spot. How the spots are formed? This is one of the aging process. Brown spot commonly observed on hands of elderly people. They are known as age spots. They contain the pigment lipofuscin, which is composed of products of lipid peroxidation. So this is commonly occurring in aging. This again an MCQ, lipofuscin. There is one more thing, that is cataract formation. You can see many old age people, they are having cataract. This is sometimes it is related to disorder, but sometimes it is very common. That is, it is part of the aging process. Age-related degenerative condition. This is cataract formation. It is due to accumulation of reactive oxygen species during the lifetime. These are some of the aging changes which occurs. Aging also, it comes as a short note. Disorders associated with free radicals, it will be one short note, and aging can be another short note. So while writing the disorders of free radical, you are supposed to write down aging in that also, but mention that aging is not a disorder. It is a normal process which every human has to undergo. And aging, if it comes as a short note, then given detail about the process of aging, then examples of the degenerative disorder, and what all things can be there in the process of aging, like age spots, cataract, okay, then cell death, graying of hairs, so that you can add, okay, other things. So we have learned about free radicals and in the last class about antioxidants. Okay. Is it clear? Is it okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.